I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, people, for joining us on tonight's meeting, December 4th, 2017. Members present, Joe Bailey.
John Hutch is here.
John Collier. Okay. First thing we're going to do is, last meeting we talked and discussed about the new disorderly resident ordinance. We've run it through legal and we've had some discussion with the police chief tonight about it. So basically we're going to open the meeting as for a public hearing on this ordinance, if there's any discussion on it. And we'll let it go a minimum of half an hour, maybe till the rest of the meeting if anybody comes in and wants to talk about it. So. And speaking of the devil, here she comes. So, basically at the end of this meeting, we will make the vote on this, the disorderly residence ordinance, okay? So, we get to the end of it. If you want, I can read it now before we get into business. And that way you can mull things over, write down some notes and that sort of thing, and go from there, okay? Okay, so.
Would it be worthwhile, it's pretty lengthy to make copies for people?
Yeah, I can do that.
So
Make it easy.
it's a little easier to follow along if you can read it as well.
Sure.
Put it back.
How you feeling?
Pretty good.
Good.
Have to throw up today, so.
We came here waiting.
Yes, you are, but I'll do my best.
Your best bet's to go to 2 to 1, so you'll have more pages, because 2 to 2 will probably get stuck. Just
Is there extra
I did
minutes?
two-sided, one to 2.
Here.
No, two-sided.
you want to go 2 to 1, you want to separate so they're not. You can try 2 to 2, but
Yeah,
I think
right.
it's gonna get
Oh.
stuck.
You want
No,
to do
that's-
2 to 1?
Minutes.
That's
It says 1 to 2 or 2
Oh,
pages.
I mean the
Agenda?
It
agenda, sorry.
doesn't give me
And
that.
just do 2 to 2,
Okay.
but you gotta hold in the sides. Then all the way. I think that's the only way you can do it to work.
Just get on one night. Only the time to do it.
Wet your
Try to
finger.
prop it up with
I heard she got even better deal.
What's that?
I heard she went and got a better deal on that thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you keep those two young ladies fighting, and pretty soon we'll have it for free.
No kidding.
Laura, is that the box chairs or is that the new?
No, those are chairs for the police department. I think they forgot they were up here, because he said he was convicted today.
Oh, speaking of the devil. No. It worked once, I'm gonna try a second time.
My ears were burning.
Might be faster if I just read it.
I think so.
You're putting pressure on me, stop it.
Good thing we're getting a new printer, huh?
Oh, we haven't confirmed yet, yeah.
This should confirm it.
Ow, it's antique, like Roger.
Yeah, it's as old
We
as.
can't get rid of it.
At what point in time you consider the antique?
It just doesn't function any longer.
Well,
Okay, I'm sorry, Roger. You gotta go.
I'm still functioning a little bit. That thing ain't functioning at all.
is it basically the, a replay of the one that I read online from the Franklin?
Yes, but it's just,
She's gotta
we
go
just
over and give it a
reworded it to us, and we had our attorneys add a few things to it too.
Let the pros.
It froze.
How do you know when something is truly an antique? I've skied about all my life. I knew my skis were antiques when I went into the ski lodge and saw my same exact skis hanging up on the wall.
Well, this is when you know he's antique. Flip phone. No flip phone, that can't figure out how to open it up.
Oh, well, let me show you.
Let me show you.
That's right.
Oh, so I didn't try to open it.
At least it's not wet.
No, this is the next step up from it, right?
Yeah, my skis were hanging right there in the
Yeah,
wall.
they're antique.
Yeah, like in some of these restaurants, you buy all that sportsman one, you just want to be selling one to them, like they make some money from it.
I've been out skiing. I took a lot of kids skiing when I was teaching. About 8,000 or 9,000 altogether.
There's one.
I'd ski with someone, then I'd go inside and check first aid and so
Is your
forth.
office open?
One of the kids,
2. You need to see
It's
one
not
right
yours.
there.
isn't that your skis on the wall?
If I let go, it's on there.
Sorry, kid.
How long ago?
Ski?
Yeah.
Oh, that particular one's probably 20 years ago. In terms of skiing, I was skiing last winter.
Up there above his head.
How do you do that after you're done skiing? Just over that back, not too bad.
I'm a slow skier, yeah. And then I tell all my kids to ski, but growing up on the farm, there was no money for skiing. I didn't ski until I came back from Vietnam.
It's probably enough on a big dog.
Even then, I never took a lesson. I took taught myself how to ski.
Yeah, those, we gotta dig up my glasses. Winter sports, some of them are just.
I do like 6, I don't know
Yeah.
when you're gonna need that.
Okay, my son played hockey.
Oh, jeez. Well, I think I might.
Play golf.
Here's your
Another
original that you
sport that's
signed.
not.
I might have you beat. Of our 6 children, 4 of them played hockey.
Yeah, well, both of my kids did.
That's not cheap either.
Oh, boy.
Do you want one?
Joe, if it'd save your voice, if you want, I'll read it for you guys.
I'll start, if I can't finish, I'll let somebody take over. Okay. This is the new disorderly resident ordinance. Number 1 is purpose, 2 definitions, 3 documentation and classification of complaints, 4 notice of and enforcement procedures, fines, violations, and penalties, 5 legal action against owner for cost of recovery, alternative enforcement actions. Number 1, purpose. This chapter is adopted in accordance with RSA 31:391, section N, and RSA 644:2, and all other relevant statutory authority. It is hereby declared a valid public purpose of the town of Middleton that in order to promote and protect the health and general welfare of the town of Middleton, its residents, and its neighborhoods, a process needs to be in place to properly and adequately control and manage chronic and unlawful nuisance and disorderly activities that might occur in the neighborhoods of the town. It is the public policy of the town to utilize this chapter to control and manage the disorderly activities and properties described below, and to appropriately assign financial liability for enforcement actions to the owners of the property when such activities occur in repeated fashion. There is an obligation on the part of the property owners to take all appropriate actions to reduce or eliminate these types of events from occurring. Ongoing disorderly events consume time and energies of the police department, thus reducing the amount of time that can be spent on more significant crimes and community affairs. While fines and enforcement actions may be necessary, this chapter is not adopted to create a mechanism to solely impose punitive punishments on the property owners. Instead, the goal of this chapter is to create a dialogue with property owners and engage them in a process of eliminating these disorderly activities to the greatest degree possible.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Laura, why does it keep saying chapter instead of ordinance?
It shouldn't.
I mean, look at the first line. This chapter is adopted.
Oh, no, hold on, I'll go find the other one. I know I changed them
Should it
all.
all be ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
What's the difference between a chapter and an ordinance?
Well,
Sorry.
just at the top says ordinance and down here says chapter.
Right.
That'll be one or the other,
Yeah.
just for
So,
clarity.
yeah, so for clarity and stuff like that, when I sit there and
I mean, make them all ordinance or make them all chapter.
Is there a difference?
I don't think we can pass a chapter.
No.
I think we can
That's,
pass a disorderly residence ordinance.
we're claiming a disorderly resident ordinance, not a disorderly resident chapter. So it has to fall in line with what we're trying to do, so. So as I read on, if I say chapter, you know I mean ordinance, okay?
Read them.
Number 2, definitions. As used in this ordinance, the following terms shall have the meanings outlined below. Disorderly activities. Situation created within or in the immediate vicinity of a building by a building's owner, occupants, or tenants, or invitees of an owner, tenant, or occupant, which would have a tendency to unreasonably disturb the community, the neighborhood, or an activity, ordinary individual occupying property in or near the disorderly activity, including but not limited to loud music, boisterous parties, excessively loud or unnecessary noises emanating from within or near the building, which are audible outside the building, fights within the building or in its vicinity involving occupants of the buildings or their invitees, occupants of the building or their invitees being intoxicated outdoors in the vicinity of the building, and other similar activities in the building or in the vicinity of the building.
Okay, hold on, just one.
Yep.
Where it says being intoxicated, should that also say being intoxicated or under the influence of drugs? Or is that the same?
Intoxicated is intoxicated, I don't think it really specifies by which.
Oh, anybody?
Intoxication generally is,
All inclusive.
Under some type of.
It's usually alcohol, isn't it?
No,
No.
I think now with the drug situation, it's also, it's not called a DWI, it's
Right.
just saying you're intoxicated.
Right, I think now, like I said,
Okay.
it's
Good.
Driving while
under the
intoxicated, intoxicated
Under the
can mean
influence.
anything.
Yeah.
Or OUI, same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Disorderly event. An activity to which the police department responds on the basis of a complaint and determined to be disorderly. Multiple responses to a single building that occur within a 12-hour period may be deemed a single disorderly event at the discretion of the police department. The police department shall be the final arbiter and show events are classified. On how events are classified and count towards the enforcement procedure in this ordinance. If the disorderly events occur at a multi-family property, more than 2 units, and the events are taking place at individual units on different dates and times, the police department, in consultation with the board of selectmen, shall determine how these events will be classified in reference to the notice and fine provisions of B through D below. The type and frequency of the events and the degree of the threat to public safety will be factors in how the events are classified. Habitual disorderly residence. A resident which has been identified and classified by the police chief or a designee as being either the subject of 8 or more police responses for any disorderly events in a 12-month period, or the subject of 10 or more police responses for any disorderly event in any 18-month period. Owner. The person or persons having the right of legal title to or the beneficial interest in a building or parcel of land as their interest is recorded in the tax records of the town of Middleton. For the purpose of all notifications and related communications, the term owner shall also be defined as the landlord's agent as provided but to the town by the owner of the property subject to the provisions of RSA 540. Residence. Any type of residential unit or building, including but not limited to single or two-family dwelling, a multi-family dwelling, family apartment, boarding house, condominium, rooming house or unit, or leased units in a manufactured housing park, therefore jointly and severally building. The term resident also includes any property, yard, driveway, or parking area, etc. associated with the residence. 3, documentation and classification of complaints. The police department shall document all responses to complaints of disorderly activities and classify each complaint as either substantiated or unsubstantiated. 4, notice and enforcement procedures, fines, violations, and penalties. A, when the police department determines that the first incident at the property will be subject to the provisions of this ordinance, it shall notify the owner of the property and provide a copy of this ordinance. Owner may voluntarily contact the police chief and or the board of selectmen to schedule a meeting to discuss the violation. If such a meeting is scheduled, the owner may, if he or she chooses, presents the town with a plan to take proactive steps to prevent future events. B, whenever a resident has been visited by the police 2 times in a 30-day period in relation to incident involving a disorderly event, the police chief or any other agent designated by the board of selectmen, hereinafter referred to as the town, shall send a notice to the owner. The owner shall be provided with a copy of this ordinance and shall be informed that a fine of $100 shall be imposed for the event. If the owner contacts the police chief and or the board of selectmen and schedules a meeting within 10 calendar days of this receipt of notice to discuss the event, and said owner satisfactorily outlines a mechanism to prevent future disorderly events, then the fine may be waived. C, whenever a resident has been visited by the police for a third event in any 60-day period in relation to incident involving a disorderly event, the police chief or any other agent designated by the board of selectmen, hereinafter referred to as the town, shall send a notice to the owner. The owner shall be subject to a fine of $1,000. If the owner contacts the police chief and or the board of selectmen and schedule a meeting within 10 calendar days of receipt of the notice to discuss the events, and the owner has satisfactorily outlined a plan to prevent future disorderly events, then the fine may be waived. The plan shall demonstrate that the owners agree to take effective and immediate measures to prevent future disorderly events. The implementation of the plan shall begin within 1 week of the meeting. The plan shall be in writing and shall be signed and acknowledged by the town and the owner. The owner shall submit a report to the police chief and the town no later than 3 weeks after the meeting, reporting the steps taken to prevent future events. If the town determines the plan is not being implemented in good faith, then the full fine of $1,000 shall be reinstated. D, for any fourth disorderly event within 60 days from the third event, or for any subsequent event within 180 days from the date of the first event, the police chief or other designated agent shall send a notice to the owner. The owner shall be subject to a fine of $1,000 for the fourth event and for each subsequent event. The fine for the fourth event may be reduced or waived by the Board of Selectmen if the owner demonstrates a good faith effort to prevent future disorderly events. E, the notices described above shall include a brief narrative outlining the circumstances of the disorderly events, date, time, and nature of the event or events. The notice shall be delivered to the owner on the appropriate representative by hand or by first-class mail. Service of such notice in the foregoing manner upon the owner's agent or upon the person responsible for the structure shall constitute service of notice upon the owner. F, at the time of any meeting between the owner and the town may request documentation including to, but not limited to, a copy of names of all tenants or other persons authorized to reside or presently residing in the building and the units they occupy, management contracts with any building supervisor or other persons responsible for the orderly operation of the building. G, failure to meet with town officials to enter into such an agreement at the conclusion of the said meeting will be deemed a violation of this ordinance, and the town shall file a complaint in a court of competent jurisdiction, seeking all compensatory and equitable relief permitted by law. H, if a resident that has become the subject of enforcement action under the provisions outlined above becomes subject to a second round of enforcement under this ordinance, then the town is under no obligation to meet with the owner, but may proceed directly with a complaint to a court of competent jurisdiction, seeking all compensatory and equitable relief permitted by law. I, the provisions of subsections B through H above notwithstanding, if a specific resident becomes identified as being a habitual disorderly resident by the chief of police or a designee, then the town is under no obligation to issue any notices or meet the property owner. The town may, in these cases, issue a notice of violation and assess a fine of $1,000 for each event. 5, legal action against owner for cost recover alternative enforcement actions. In addition to any notice of enforcement provision outlined above, the town may file a legal action against the owner seeking court cost response charges and all damages and remedies to which is entitled pursuant to state and local laws. The town of Middleton also reserves the right to take any enforcement action allowed by the other local ordinance or state statute as an alternative to this disorderly resident ordinance adopted December 4th, 2017. Okay, so. Go ahead, Mr. Ford.
I lost my place on the first page. Could you read it again, please?
I was gonna say the same thing.
Joanne? No.
This disorderly event, it said, multiple responses within a 12-hour period. And then it's,
That could count as one.
right. Oh,
Depending on what the police
habitual,
say.
okay. They're talking about 8 or more responses in a 12-month period, and then you talk about,
10 and 18.
yeah, they talk about if they've been visited for a third event in a 60-day period. I'm kind of confused on that.
Well, it's 3 in 60 days, 8 in a year, 10 and 18 months. The whole idea is to get the action to stop.
So I have a question, or a couple. So for each time that something happens and the owner gets a fine, they have an opportunity to meet with the chief.
Or the Board of Selectmen.
Prior to the fine.
So each time they have an opportunity, so how I look at it is this, the first time when they have the $100 fine, okay, meet with the chief and say, this is my plan, this is how I'm gonna fix it, voila. Obviously, if they get a second fine, they didn't fix the problem the first time. So, should it really be allowed each time they get to meet?
Yeah,
At
fine
what
goes
point do
up.
you stop, like, kicking the can down the road and
Well,
say,
that's, I don't think you're kicking the can, you just give the landowner an opportunity to try to correct the action. And it may be the first time they talk to these people and say, no more, because I'm gonna have to evict you. If it happens again, yeah, they're hauled in again, well, now I'm evicting them.
Yeah.
It gives you the opportunity to work your way through the problem instead of just like constantly just fine,
Mhm.
okay? We wanna fix it, not keep it ongoing, and at some point, within a year, if they have a year-to-year lease, they may not be there very long.
yeah,
And the way I interpret this, you're right, the first time was $100.
yeah,
If the owner talks with the selectman, comes up with a plan that temporarily negates the $100 fine. If this stuff still continues, as selectman, I'd say, well, you're back to a $100 fine.
Let's say, so the first time they come in, okay, here's the ordinance and stuff like that, whatever. Okay, what are you gonna do to fix it? Here's your plan. They give us the plan, a written plan. All of a sudden, they're back before us again in another month, okay? $100 fine. Well, no, you say you're gonna do this, you didn't do it. You're paying a $100 fine, but you're still gonna come up with a plan to fix it.
yeah.
Okay, and that's where we come in. So pretty much what's gonna happen is the board of selectmen will be doing all that. That's gonna be left to the police chief.
Why
So-
not the police chief? In Franklin, it's up to the, I just kind of think once again, it's kind of opening up for you guys as a conflict of interest, being property owners that rent, and also you guys are all elected officials. Where the police chief was hired, and this is something that he was hired to do, it would just be like, you know, somebody getting a speeding ticket or a moving a violation ticket or something like that. I kind of think that it just opens it up for a possible accusal of like the good old boy system of, well, you know,
Yeah.
so-and-so's friends with
You may say-
John.
Okay, but you say that, but you stop and consider, when we get through this whole thing, I
Yeah.
think, when we get to the public meeting,
Mhm.
we have to vote on it to put this in place.
Mhm.
Okay, the three of us, all right? So if you just wait till the process, I
Yeah.
think some of that would be alleviated in what you're thinking,
Okay.
okay?
Laura, true or false, as the ordinance was written for the town of Franklin, it said police chief or city council.
Yeah,
It said police chief, town manager, or city
Okay, so-
council.
Okay.
That ordinance gives some options.
The thing about it is, you guys are the town.
Yes.
It says police chief or the town.
Right.
Or police chief's supposed to report it to you guys as being the town.
Right.
So, in that aspect, it would be your decision whether to say, okay,
Chief enforces the orders and stuff like that,
right,
we have the option as the town, representatives of the town,
right.
to work with these people to make it go away.
And when you work with the people, would it be private or would it be during,
Depends on them if they want to do a non-public or public, it's up to the
Yeah.
people. We can't, they have that option.
and would the chief be involved with that?
Because he has to bring us all the information and make sure what was said is obviously right.
I mean, as a selectman, I would ask for the police chief to be with
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should,
Absolutely,
you should, because he's
absolutely, because he's the one.
filing the complaint.
His officer designee issued that fine, then they should be here representing why they did what they did,
Okay.
okay? So,
I mean, I believe them coming to the board of selectmen, as far as the good old boy network, yes, you're looking at maybe one person, the police chief, that could be the old boy network, but when they come to the board, to the town,
Mhm.
you know, they have to go by three of them, you know, and as far as, you know, not only can we, exclude the $100 or $1,000 fine, but we can also hold them accountable and say, you know, you're going to pay, so.
and you're not learning your lesson, sorry, no, we've given you a couple of chances, you're not getting it done, sorry.
Okay.
No, I mean,
I believe having three heads,
the purpose of doing this is to, you have another tool.
Yeah,
What's the sense of doing all this if we're not gonna enforce it? It's a
exactly,
moot point.
exactly,
And about a week ago, there was no tool.
yeah.
Now you got something.
Joanne, you had a question?
Grammatical correction on the third page, 4A. The owner may present the town, need to remove the S on presence.
I'm in the 4A, wait, what is it?
The,
Owner
Oh, the
may
last
volunteer
sentence, the
con-
next to last sentence, yeah, or the last row.
the owner may present the town with,
Yeah, just remove
Yes,
it.
yes.
This should be it.
and
I think
my,
yes.
I guess if I could clarify my question on this, what is the purpose of identifying something as a habitual or disorderly residence in relationship to 4B? I mean, is there a reason for identifying something as a,
Take her situation.
yeah, I understand
Okay.
that, yeah, but I'm saying that in relation to the document, there's no additional, paragraph in here, that relates to a habitual or disorderly residence, other than if, I'm just questioning the relationship, that's all.
So, I don't follow what you're asking.
You've identified what a habitual offender is there any additional course, I guess, that's gonna be taken against somebody who's considered an
Let's see.
habitual offender
Let's see.
versus, I don't know,
The
I'm thinking
hab-
that's what,
okay,
is that what
so-
you're
I
asking?
mean, generally speaking, if you identify somebody as a habitual offender, there's some additional penalty related to identifying them as habitual offenders in driving.
So basically, again, I know your situation, I'll use it for an example.
Yeah.
As, once we pass this, now the chief has a tool. He gets a call, he goes down there. Look, no orders in town, here you go. Alright? At that point, one's gonna be sent to the landlord as well. And they're gonna let them know that this was already given to their tenant as well, okay? So now, he goes down a week from now, they're down there having a big party, or they have a big to-do, somebody's out there fighting, whatever. Now he goes down there and says, I've already given you this, I talked to you once, boom, $100 fine. Alright? Now the tenant can come up there to the board of selectmen and say, I don't wanna pay $100 fine, I'll do this, this, and this. That's all well and good, and they get the notification. But the pattern is as many times as you're down there, now they become habitual, and now the penalties start getting stiffer and stiffer, and the more you come to us, the less we're gonna listen to you and make you pay your fines. So, I mean, I don't know how, any other way to explain it other than that.
Except that I didn't see any further reference in the document to penalty associated with identifying something as a habitual.
Okay. I think,
Well, I don't think it necessarily is, it's just saying that you're gonna be considered a habitual offender if you continue,
right.
and then they have that recourse to say, and then they can say, you are a habitual offender, we don't charge you,
We
but
can
now we're
document
gonna
this.
say,
Yeah.
now we're gonna say, we're gonna charge you $1,000 because you've been in front of us 4 times.
are you looking for a time frame on how many times?
No, she's
No, I
looking for
think-
clarification about what makes them become a habitual offender, I think,
Or do you charge somebody more if it's a, if you're considered habitual offender? I think what it is
Eventually,
doing
yeah,
is,
you do.
right, and I think
1,000.
that's it, it's just to say that we've identified this as being a habitual offender. And now,
One last question then.
hopefully I have the answer for you better. This is new to us too, so.
Okay. When we were property managers in Rochester, and I don't know if this was stateside or just local to the city of Rochester, but they required that every rental property be identified to the town and whom to contact if there was, say, a problem at that residence.
I think for the most part, and here, the cops know who that is. They know
Their
their ordinance.
ordinance down there,
I don't think they just know it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that in the town of, the city of Rochester, you had to file the list of all the properties that you owned and rented. And it was a one-time fee of $15 to register, and then there was a fine associated with not registering your rental properties. It's just a way for the town to say.
Doesn't the town already know who owns what?
yeah,
For the most part.
If somebody came in with an address, we just look it up and tell you who the owner is.
So, one of the other things, like this is the first draft, the first thing like that, this is a living document, it's not gonna be closed-ended, so if we have to make amendments to it at any point in the future, we can to address things that come up that we haven't identified here. So, I mean, this will never stop being a living document.
Right.
So, I mean, this is just something, give them some tools to help alleviate some situations in town to get started with, and we can make this thing as tight as we want going forward, so, just remember that as well, so.
Am I correct in saying that this begins upon adoption of this? It's not, doesn't go back past activities in the
No,
past
no.
year?
We can only go forward
10
with
years?
it. Yeah. So, once we adopt this new ordinance, we can only worry about what going forward is.
Right.
You know, past acts and well, you got some, you've been given a do-over, so take advantage of it, so. All right, so if there's no more questions, let's go into the regular agenda. We can, if you got some questions, write them down, we can address them before we vote, all right? Except you. All right, so we can go into the minutes from the Board of Selectmen minutes from 11/27/2017.
I've previewed them already. I move that we accept the minutes before the
Yeah, John,
second meeting.
I got. Do I have a
November
second?
27th.
I've already read them, I second.
Okay, all in favor, because I've read them too.
Aye.
Aye.
Neighborhood ordinance is what we're in the middle of right now. Wow. All right, so under old business, school lights. I see the signs are up.
Okay, so, I texted Jeff Jacobs today, so my computer is now ready, so it should be done this week, if he's available.
So what's the tape on the bottom platform?
It's covering up when lights are flashing, because they're currently not flashing.
Oh,
So
they'll
once
cut
I'm
that
done, I
from
just
off.
take that off, yeah.
Okay. I didn't read the sign, so I didn't know.
Who will set the hours? Police chief?
I've already done that. I've talked to the police chief and the school. So it'll be a half an hour before school starts,
So half an hour
and half an
after?
hour after school starts, and then the same thing in the afternoon.
Vacations, probably no change.
It won't blink.
You can
There's a
program it
calendar I
to-
can program an entire year.
Oh,
So I'll go
So-
in, take all the weekends off, I'll take all the vacations off, holidays.
So next year when school's out and stuff like that, before school starts, you can program it then instead of doing it in the wintertime.
I'll get the calendar before school starts, yeah.
what happens when there's a craft fair on a Saturday?
Nothing, won't blink. Unless we know those in advance. Same thing with like a snow day, it'll blink anyways, so.
Who puts the changes in? You? You have to actually walk or drive down there to be
Yeah.
within 10 feet of
Climb
it?
up on a truck, yeah. I'll get in.
When do you anticipate this?
I'm hoping by the end of this week those lights will be blinking. I'm just waiting for Jeff.
Well,
to-
Tuesday and Thursday, Tuesday and Wednesday's gonna rain like heck,
That's okay.
so
It doesn't take more than 5 minutes out there. Got an umbrella.
take your umbrella.
Now, am I correct in saying that that little tiny solar thing is all they need?
The flat one on the top?
Yeah, that's it. I'm thinking something the size of this table, but it's not.
We used to do our lighthouses with those.
Yeah.
Trickle charge of battery, that's
Yeah.
it.
Pretty cool. Been a while getting here, but like everything else, it eventually gets here.
Yeah.
All right, any other old business?
Yeah,
Go for it.
John, remember we discussed the beach down there? About the public launch?
Yes.
Have we done anything further on the public launch? You said you were gonna take that over and see, about,
About milfoil and so forth?
no, to improve on that public launch
Oh,
down there
yeah,
because of
no,
the
I
rocks
haven't
and,
done-
on the rocks and stuff.
Yeah. No.
Do
Well,
you,
it's probably okay. You drown the water down.
no, well, this is the time to do it.
Oh, right.
Because right now, the rocks that are wiping out people's trailers and stuff like that, taking the lights off the trailers, and of course, it's some of our residents too, not just other ones.
You
The other
talking
ones who
you
asked
talking about
me-
the light, the rocks that are on the sides, or the rocks that are in the middle taking out the propellers?
No, not taking out the propellers, the rocks on the sides and stuff like that, when you back in, I used to have a problem with my pontoon boat too, because you caught one of those rocks. And if you're just right, you took out the lights on the rear end.
I could be wrong, but I'm thinking back to when there was a big drawdown to work on the dam. It seems like there was some discussion from the state saying, you better not touch anything on that bottom of that lake. May not remove any
That's-
rocks.
Yeah, well, that's why we'd have to petition the state
Right, yeah.
to go ahead and say, hey, look, we wanna fix that ramp because it's dangerous, for one thing. And, that's what I brought up before and asked you if you wanted me to talk to the state, you said, no, I'll handle it.
All right, I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because this would be the best time for them to
Sure.
get those rocks out of there.
Most really, that lake is that low right now.
I drove
Oh,
by
yeah,
today,
she's
it's
low.
really low.
She's low,
It's really low, I drove
yeah,
down
it's
and
low.
you can
It
see
didn't
every
take them
rock on
long
that side.
to drop it, but it's low.
I don't think you'll have time to do it this year, but if you get the approval from the state.
Yeah, you
can
can
do it in the
approve
spring.
it, then next year you can go in and say, hey, we got it, you can tell the owners down there, and then we just clean those rocks out.
When do they fill the lake back up?
Springtime.
Usually,
When ice is out,
May,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
beginning of May.
So you really would have enough time to do it if you did it in the spring?
Yeah, it's usually when I was a dam commissioner, the minute ice was out, that's when we started to fill the lake.
All right, if there's nothing under old business, we'll go into the, go ahead, Joe, Tom.
What was the final action on that trash outside on Kings Highway?
I have to
There's two areas.
talk, I have to talk with Joe and John.
Still
John, the
there?
ones on King, I saw it last week. I need to talk with them. I dropped the ball on that.
That doesn't bode well
Like they
with
might have added
our
more
beautiful town.
flames.
I haven't seen it since last week, and I know I told you about it, that it's been confirmed. I have to speak with them.
Like I said, our town doesn't need, that kind of stuff to,
Is it-
along
is this
a
something done
well-traveled highway.
I'm sorry?
public? Is this something that should be done public or non-public?
Well, there's some
Public
trash down on the road that,
It's unsightly, it's unbefitting of a town.
right, it is unsightly, and it is at the top of someone's driveway, so I don't know why it's not being picked up, if it's our vendor issue, or if it's the homeowner's issue, not putting it into bags, I don't know, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about it.
And there's two
Two
addresses,
locations.
two of them,
Yeah, two locations.
real close together.
Yeah, almost by,
It's been there since bulk, right?
yeah.
That's the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Way before that, actually.
And then, the people that aren't moving in or out is actual residents that are still there?
Yeah, I was gonna talk to you guys, and I didn't know if,
The only
code enforcer go there.
police department's littering. In my opinion, it's a littering. I mean, we put out the bags, we put the criteria for ball pickup, we give stickers and stuff like that. They don't have stickers on it, and they get picked up, then they have to move it back off the property. If not, they can be fined for littering. It's not code enforcement, it's not a health hazard, it's just unsightly, it's at the end of the driveway.
Well, it's also a safety thing, I mean, the windstorms that we have, that can go right into the street. I mean, there's a whole bunch of issues that
Again,
shouldn't be
that would
there.
be, I think, a police matter.
yeah. Separate item, everybody know what happened last Tuesday with regards to trash?
Oh, why they came to
Right.
it, why did they?
I have it on a reliable source from a neighbor on Dudley, which they picked up one side, but not the other, did not pick up the rest of the development. The truck was making such noise that they did not continue working with it. So they got the truck off the road, and they came in Wednesday morning with another truck to finish. So the reason they stopped picking up the trash is the condition of the truck.
I'm thinking we also might want to talk to Pete Leshbell, because I can tell you, Tammy's been taking pictures from our house. They dump the trash. The buckets are in the middle of the driveway and out the road again. And going down the road, big pieces of garbage were coming off the truck, landing in the middle of the road, and there's all kinds of litter going down Silver Street. From our place, like 4 residences down. And the stuff is just flying out the truck all over the place.
That's the one that picks it up, you pay for that to pick it up? LaChapelle, is that who, yeah?
He's the,
He's the contact at Waste Management.
right. so. It's just like, whatever the problems are is becoming our town problems, and I've had enough of it, so.
Yeah.
Well, we paid got paid this in the contract, enough is enough,
Right.
you know? And people need to be a little bit more professional,
Right.
so. All right,
So do you wanna talk in, private about the trash on Kings Highway? Or do you want me to refer that to the police?
I'll talk to Bill, now, chief.
Do you want me to, or do you want to?
I'll take care of it and say, listen, you know, somebody needs to go visit these people because this can't stay here. If it snows, now we got a plow
Especially in the
problem, it should be
winter,
knocking it around from the trees and in the woods and stuff. It needs to be picked out now, and before it actually freezes it to the ground, so, probably already has,
Yeah, once you took that wing down there, that sucker would be in the,
yeah. So,
Thank you for bringing it up.
so, we'll have somebody go up there and visit with, say, clean it, you need to get it picked out. Okay, how you do it, we get it done, so, or, you know, you wanna get yourself a littering fine. So. All right, anything else on the old business? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I thought we wanted any business.
Well, we gotta finish one.
Alright.
All right, then nothing else on the old business, we can move into new business.
Well, no, there's something already on there. I'll
Joanne,
look
go ahead.
Books.
Want some?
We have temporarily stored the books from the trailer so that they could access the other items in there.
Thank you.
It's a temporary storage. We need to know what the town would like to do with the books, if they're going to use the books to open up some kind of lending facility, or if you want the books disposed of. We will see that they do not end up in the landfill unless it's damaged or otherwise not readable.
$1 million question, how temporary is temporary?
We'd like to
Next
get,
week.
we'd like to get them out of there before snow flies too, because we'd like to get our vehicles back in the garage.
Whose books are they?
Actually, nobody's.
they were the library
They-
books.
They belong to basically the town in the sense that they were in the old town hall. It was Linda, yeah,
Neil's way.
Neil's wife Linda and Evelyn
Sure.
Campbell were the two who were collecting the books and sort of managing it. I assisted in the library by manning the facility at times to check in books and check them out. I've asked Evelyn, and she said, want nothing to do with them, so.
But were those folks acting as agents of the town, or was this a?
No, they
Private.
did
Personal
come and
private.
ask about opening a library over there, I remember that.
They just asked for
We
use
gave
of this
them-
facility.
You know, the old,
How many books are there?
How many?
Approximately.
About 15 boxes.
15, well, more like about 30 or 40.
Not quite that, many, maybe 20.
Well, let's put it
Either
this
way,
way.
it's as far as the eye
Let's
can
put it this way,
see.
from here
Yeah,
to
cover
that
eyes.
wall,
Oh, yeah.
in 2 rows about that high.
yeah,
Oh, 32 then.
yeah. Yeah.
Quite a few.
As
Most of them
selectmen,
have
I've
been
not heard of any plans for any future endeavor with libraries
No,
in this town.
no.
And I'm guessing the people that ran it before are not looking to run it again.
Linda's moved away, and I've talked to Evelyn
She's-
several times, and she's not the least bit interested.
Then you're not interested, are you?
I do not want to run a library facility.
I think what we should probably do is donate this book someplace. else.
Donation
You should
to
get rid of
another
them,
library?
Go for it.
Okay,
Because
then
I really
there will
don't
be-
see, that small room over there is, there's one room left untouched and like that, I just don't see it going back in that way.
We will be parceling them out then to Goodwill, to schools, to Salvation Army, to
Yeah.
Serve, to
Yep.
wherever I can, you know, depending on the subject matter, whether they'll be most
You can give it to
utilized.
anybody you want as far as I'm concerned.
So,
Anybody want to come look for books?
so just the question, Joanne, is if you find anything in there specifically, and I don't know that there is, anything that specifically like addresses the town history that obviously you would keep for the town.
That's all.
And I'm sure there probably isn't, I
No,
don't
it's all
know.
downstairs in the vault.
Yeah,
Well, I know, but sometimes it could be a copy or whatever,
Right.
Well,
you know, so I'm just saying if.
We're talking a lot of paperback fiction, nonfiction,
And that's what I kinda
biographies.
first edition,
In fact-
with the guy's name on it.
in fact, two
I wanna
books
make sure I get those.
In fact, 2 books that we specifically wanted, there was an Audubon encyclopedia of birds that we were looking for to salvage from the library if it's gone. whenever they moved.
Somebody had the idea about helping it out.
They helped it out the door before it got to the trailer.
Okay. Just keep.
Just curious, are we good with the budget for the meeting on Wednesday?
Wednesday at 3 o'clock, absolutely.
Okay.
And how the process works,
No. First, no,
okay? This
there's
is
a
how
lot
it-
of stuff I'm learning.
Okay, no, this is how it works, is the department head will come to us with a time slot. They've already presented their budgets to us, we're going through like that, and we're gonna go down through it with them to see where we can save money or whatever. If they increased it, what reasons for. And once we're done asking our questions with them, then we'll let the budget committee ask questions.
For that particular department.
For that particular
You
department
don't have
head.
to wait till the end.
Correct, yes, yeah, because I know on the schedule when Laura sent out, it's like each one gets a half hour or something like
But
that.
in that half hour is time for the department head to make their presentation, the selectmen to ask questions, budget committee to ask questions.
Okay, yeah.
And some of it's gonna be fairly easy, so we'll be waiting probably a little bit of time, whatever, so, but the goal is to get through everybody, in one evening and
Okay, enlighten me, because I haven't heard anything about Wednesday.
about 3 months ago, we put out to all the department heads and the budget committee that we're gonna be holding the board of selectmen budgets with our department heads. And the first one will be this Wednesday at 3 o'clock. I don't know who's the first on the agenda, either highway or police or whatever. So they're working during the day, so they go home at a reasonable hour, should be afterwards, okay? And we're gonna go through everybody's budget and then allow the budget committee to interact with them and like that. Because before it used to be like, we'd have it, and all of a sudden the budget committee would talk to somebody else and have 2 or 3 meetings like that. And we can't have a month of just meeting after meeting. It's gonna be.
No, because my understanding is the time frame's pretty tight from when the, present the budget and when you have to come up with the final budget to submit it to.
Yes.
DRA, and we have to have our deliberative session and stuff
That
like
much I
that. So
know, but
There's
you
also
just have to
another
have
date
it.
too.
Say that again?
There's also another date that's on the calendar.
For what?
Regarding the meeting for the budgets.
And
They have to get it to us by a certain date. They submit their budget to you, and they have to do the posting and all of that by certain dates.
The budget
and
committee.
I believe, Roxanne, that this really covers articles, so like 2, 3, 4. Article 1 is voting, then it's like articles 2, 3, 4 are what I call the big
Oh, yeah.
budget. Then there's a bunch of warrant articles. There's still time for more warrant articles to come
Right.
forth. Okay, that will not be discussed, every one of them, on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right.
All we do is focus on the ongoing budget,
Right.
basically.
Clearly.
Does Laura or anybody
It's all
have a
done.
copy of that
Thank you.
calendar that
Laura would have it.
I haven't, I'm way behind on my deadlines this year. The calendar of town events, you have a copy of that
The
somewhere?
one with the meeting calendar? Yeah. I do.
You have the website for it so I can look it up, or?
I know they send me the actual calendar, like a form, that's what I go by.
Okay, I know it's on the website, but
I can look at the bottom, see if there's a website on
I probably still have a bookmark from the last time I did.
Headlight books, because most of the.
They don't change much anyway.
Well, see, and then the thing is, I'm asking a question, and notice that you're not the chair and stuff like that, but, there's 2 formats of doing budgeting, okay? And I'm sure with this in, like you had to think about it, maybe approach, and John's gonna do the same thing in the next meeting, but the school presents their budget from the SAU in a certain format, okay? Now, I think the budget committee needs to pick which format they want and hold both
Yes.
budgets
I know
accountable
we-
to doing that.
Yes, I know we talked a little bit about this before, I know Dave had mentioned it, that, yes, we get it in 2 formats and we don't, and I don't wanna speak for anybody else,
No,
because I
that's fine.
can't, I mean, I only know vaguely what I heard is that, yes, the schools is like one total, and we, myself, I would prefer to see it broken out like we do for the town, is the different departments, but, yeah.
We don't care which way you do it, we just wanna know
Yeah,
we're
right,
both doing the
yeah.
same thing.
Right, no, and I get
So-
that, but I mean, right, and I understand it, and like I said, new to the whole process, so I don't really,
Okay.
I don't
So,
really know.
The
don't
more
Right.
people that know about, the better off, no, the more
Right.
something may get
No,
done.
but I
about
do
it,
know
so.
that they were 2 different approaches, because Dave commented about it, and I agreed with him that I think, yes, we would like to see it. We would like to see it.
Line by line?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Now, You know, there's two different ways of voting on the budget,
Yes.
okay? That's not what we're talking about here.
Correct.
The format that everybody looks
This
at.
is, yes, yep. Yep, I understand that.
Alright, so. Good, the more people in the budget committee know how we feel about it, the better we act, so. And it doesn't matter to us either way, it's just, we just like, same standard, you know, so. I think you're gonna have a hard time finding out from the school what you wanna get,
Well,
my personal
yes,
opinion.
I don't disagree with you. So the other question.
The reason I bring this up is because if you stop and think, okay, last year it was presented in a bottom line format, with no broken, wasn't broken down. And here we got back $9.21 per thousand.
Right,
Why was it allowed to be that high in the first place?
right,
Because you didn't have the information, you just took it, what they told you needed to have, and that was it,
right.
okay? And I don't like that, so, I mean,
No, cause yeah, I
that's
would
a lot of
like-
money
no,
that was in the
no,
budget
'cause
that
I would
obviously we
like to
got
know,
back,
like,
for what reason?
Where did you, okay, so where did you save on, what line item did you save it all on?
Right.
There's
Because,
$9.21 is a lot of overinflated
Yeah.
budget, in my opinion.
right,
You know, so, I mean, we waited a whole year for tax relief from the school, for what reason?
right, I don't, yeah,
So, no, that's all.
I just came on board.
I know, I'm glad you're there,
So I'm just
honestly,
asking.
so,
And for those of us, probably all of us that have mortgages, escrow accounts, that tax increase played havoc with the
Oh, I bet it did, yeah.
amount that you now have to put in for escrow. And when they get this one, it's gonna play havoc again,
Yeah,
in a positive way.
but hopefully,
Oh.
but then that's the whole point, we're trying to get from that damn yo-yo, okay, and
Yes.
smooth it out, so everybody can actually have a budget, a home budget to work with.
What happens to that money? So the money from last year where we paid like a crazy amount. So obviously there must be like extra money if you're cutting back the budget. What happens to that money that,
At the end of the school year, and I'm talking the school because that's where the money came from, okay? At the end of the school year, when all the bills are paid and like that, okay, they have a final number. Out of that final number, the school is allowed to keep 3 to 4% of it,
Mhm.
okay? Do what they want with, and the rest has to come back for tax relief to the taxpayer. So that's where that $9.21 came from.
so it comes in a reduction of your December tax bill.
Right.
oh, okay.
And we just apply it. We don't have that big chunk of money that just came in.
Mhm.
It just reduces your taxes going forward. That's why we have that yo-yo going up and down in your tax rate all the time in your mortgage. And the whole goal, like I said, is to level that out so everybody going forward will know. And over time, the first 2 or 3 years, they said, 4 years, was gonna be the hard part because you get the bond, you get the schools, all the tuition, trying to get the building done and operating and stuff like that. So at this point now, you're seeing the big first chunk of that coming down. In subsequent years, it may come down minute amounts going forward, okay? So they should steady out at some point.
I understand your question. Ideally, if you paid too much in taxes, you should get that money back. That becomes a logistical nightmare to say,
How
you
much?
need $500 back, you need $375 back. Instead, it's just on the next budget, they apply that money and lowers the tax rate.
I was just wondering, I wasn't expecting a refund because that would probably cost too
I
much
was,
money
yes.
to work. But does it go into like an account where it
Just
stays
sits there.
there?
No, the only account that we have as a town, it's called the fund balance. And basically, we have so much money we operate the town on. We usually keep like $500,000 there, that's good like for 3 months. If nobody paid their taxes at all for 3 months, we can still run the town, pay our bills, and be in good standing with our creditors, okay? Right now, I think we're probably right around the neighborhood of about 750, okay? So basically, if we have a big ticket item we wanna buy or we wanna pay off, like last year, we wanted to pay off the fire truck. We paid off that loan, we saved almost $9,000 in interest for top, so that's $10,000, we'll say $10,000 back to the town, we didn't pay any interest. Because we had the money and the taxpayers voted to pay off that fire truck, so we saved some bucks, okay? If we have something that's a big ticket item that we know we have to spend the money on, but we can't right now, Then we put that into next year's budget, and that would be part of the process with the budget committee and the deliberative hearing, and then at the town meeting to explain why we need this money out of the fund balance to do what we're doing, okay? But we try to keep it a minimum, $500,000, which is a lot more than what anybody recommends, but just to be, you know, responsible, that we don't put ourselves in a spot, you know, we like to keep it that much, and that allows us to do other things. And all that money is like from people paying like dog licenses, the OTVs and the fishing license, all that little bit of money adds all up, you know? We get some money from the state, so all that goes in there, so pretty much it's like making a profit when we keep it on paper, so.
Sort of a brief report on the cell tower situation.
Okay.
We haven't heard whether or not the governor has made his decision or what his decision might be. We did have a letter from one representative of AT&T who said about 3 months ago we should contact him within 60 days or so to see what he might have as report for us. Tried to reach him today, and
It's not available.
well,
Wrong number.
It doesn't work no more.
so I tried,
He done
Roger
changed his
tried, I
number.
tried the numbers, both the phone number and the fax number were, we were
Disconnected.
told were not in service at this time. So I called the AT&T corporate office. They assured me that yes, there is indeed a, don't laugh at me, Mr. Smith. So, and that he is in his office, and she said the numbers work, so she gave me a third number to try, which also did not work. So I reached out to him via email, which it hasn't bounced back, so I'm assuming it got delivered somewhere. I also called the Portland office, and they assured me that they would reach out to Mr. Smith too and see that he gets back to me. So if I don't hear from him within a day or two, I will again call the corporate office headquarters and find out if Mr. Smith is an alias.
Also too, to bring up, Joanne discussed with me about making sure we get our contract in to the attorney. I talked to Laura this morning.
We're talking about the Blue Sky contract to
Yeah.
see if indeed it,
Still
Whether
need
it's
contract?
Yeah, to see if we can, if there's any way, if we have to opt out of it, we can opt out of it. So, I told Laura, we don't have any money in our budget to do that. So, it's gonna have to come out of somebody
budget,
else's.
budget?
Yeah, that's what I told Laura.
Where's the checkbook?
Yeah, these guys know what I'm saying. They know
It's down to
budget.
$10 right now, so.
Didn't it go through legal to begin with?
There-
So
I
we
just
may
wanted-
have
Municipal
to-
group.
If it
Yeah.
went through legal, I would assume that they had the
There's gotta be an-
foresight to put.
Don't we have a copy of the
escape
contract
clause.
ourselves?
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
2 copies.
Well, it should be in there somewhere.
But Laura said she went through it, and she didn't
I
see it.
can't find anything that gives us the termination, it gives them the termination.
After how many years?
They can do it whenever, but it's a 10-year contract.
So the person that you were trying to contact, is that from the same tower?
No, no,
Oh.
Blue Horizon, I contacted him today. I talked to the representative down there and tried to get him to jump.
Never signed a contract without an escape clause.
Or an end date?
Well, end date, fine, but
No,
it's 10 years.
10 years is a long time.
Right. But still, we can find out from our attorney, because these guys have actually been doing nothing. It's been us doing the work.
Hopefully we have a
And today
breach.
also, if you wanna
Good
put
faith.
that, you wanna put that down in your notes. I did contact this guy at Blue Sky or Blue Horizon or whatever it is, and told him if he knew what this FirstNet thing was, and he said, yes, he did. And I told him about the situation with the governor up here, we're gonna opt in or opt out. He was not willing to jump and put the tower up right now, they want somebody on the tower. So, but he is willing, if this FirstNet goes ahead and does it, then they're willing to come out and put one up then, which I think is, Joanne and I should put the tower up and then, and then get the money out. But anyways, because these guys ain't doing it.
Are you allowed to find another tower person?
This is what we're gonna try and
We
find.
need to check the contract to see if we can if we have some kind of recourse for, say, breach of good faith or lack
When was the
of
contract submitted,
good faith
done?
activity on
4
their
years
part.
ago, 3 years
Yeah,
ago?
yeah, about that.
About three.
How long is, what's the name of what, John, how long you been sitting?
Less than a year.
Less than a year? Yeah, so probably.
You know, in actuality, if the town has not received any funds from Blue Sky, and they're not providing any indication that they've actually proceeded forward in any way,
Have had no paperwork.
I don't
nothing.
see where they can tie our property up for any
well,
length
as I'm
of time.
saying, if,
We'll find out.
I can't see a financial responsibility tied to our
Right.
violating the contract because there was no financial exchange in the first place.
They pretty much abandoned their
Well,
contract.
the
If they
big
haven't
thing-
contacted you or
Well,
done
that we've been
anything,
in contact with
The
them,
big
it's just they're
thing is
looking
if
for
Steve-
action.
If Steve sends out, I mean, if John sends out, a representative, like he said, right off the bat, when this thing gets approved by the governor one way or the other, then are we stuck with, if we wanna use Blue Sky, and the other company, and this company says, or AT&T, or this other company says, no, you have to use this tower company, but you are still gonna get paid, because that is a stipulation, we still get paid for what our land is. Of course, we'll have to do out another contract and stuff like that, but for years and stuff like that, we should
Right.
figure out a different price on.
The point is that AT&T has the FirstNet option.
Right,
The governor has the option of going independent.
yeah, opt-in or out.
In either case, whether they take the Blue Sky or the independent, they have both indicated that they're going to put up a very minimum of 950 more cell towers in the state of New Hampshire, most of them here in the southern section, which indicates that they would probably want to put a cell tower where we have indicated as a high spot for the town. That being the case, whether it's FirstNet or the independent, they may honor the Blue Sky, say, go ahead and let Blue Sky put it up and we'll use the tower, or they say they're going to use their own company to put up a tower, but they refuse to work with Blue Sky, then we have to find a way to get out of the Blue Sky and let them put their tower up.
So this is why we wanna do
Confusing
this.
enough, I am.
This, yeah, but this is why we wanna do it now, make sure that if we can opt out, we can opt out, that's.
And no matter what tower goes up, whether it's from the governor,
We-
NetSky, Blue
Right.
Sky,
We still get our money.
Yes.
we can team up with any company.
Right,
and we will
because
still get the revenues.
if you were teaming up with the other company coming out and saying, okay, we're gonna use
The only
John Hodgkin's Tower Company, so we would, with John Hodgkin's Tower Company, we would sit down and say, okay, it's our land, it's the town's land, you can go ahead and put the tower up in the town's land, this is where it's found out, but we wanna negotiate that contract. I hope that the guy at that time, that the Board of Selectmen will sit down and look at that old contract and see what it is, and tack a little bit more on, you know what I mean?
The sticky wicket comes in if FirstNet or the independents want to put their tower up but refuse to work with Blue Sky, and Blue Sky won't let us out of the contract. That's the only sticky wicket.
So we have 2 locations
Right.
that was indicated by Bruce, whoever. This is their first choice. That may become their first choice. They want to put tower up, put one up there, because this is going to be utilized with something else. We never designated which site they could have.
Well,
And they only,
that-
they were interested in both, but there's only a contract for one.
No, there's a contract with both of them.
Why not?
So this is what we,
One shooting us over the foot.
this is what we gotta find
Like I say, the
out.
sticky wicket is finding out if they won't work with Blue Sky, or Blue Sky won't let us out. That's the only stick.
Okay.
So,
Well, a tower is actually useless if you don't have subscribers. So the subscribers have been a problem trying to get interest in who AT&T, what are some of the others?
Verizon, Sprint,
Verizon,
T-Mobile.
Sprint, you name them. there's
So that's the
more
other side
companies.
of the coin of getting subscribers.
But, FirstNet, I asked the gentleman in Blue Sky, I said, doesn't FirstNet pay you guys to have their stuff on the towers, and he said yes. So I know if the tower's gonna be put up, that they are going to get paid. They're still looking for that first subscriber too, but they are going to get paid. So,
Well, basically, if it's also, if they go with FirstNet, which is AT&T, if AT&T is going to be on the tower with FirstNet,
yeah, they're gonna
chances
put
they're also going to put their
their stuff on.
residential cell phone use equipment on it as well, so.
And that's what John said, first that will be pretty much for, your first responders and stuff like that, but, and the governor said on TV, but it should also help out for the reception for, cell phones. So that's all we wanna know, if what it is, so, okay.
Basically, review of what our options are with the
Do
Blue
you have a
Sky
copy of the
contract.
Right. Yeah.
You have a copy? You say there are 2 copies?
There's 2 contracts, she's got the contract.
One for each spot, is that what
Yeah,
it's like?
yeah. And later on, Joanne and I are going to work with, go over to New Durham, because that other property, if you guys don't know where the other, it's in New Durham, it's over where the pit's at. You know where our sand pit's at. And, which has been deemed a good place to put it because of the buses going back and forth. So, we have to do like any good landowner do, go before the planning board down there and let them know what we're planning on doing and doing the whole works like you would do before.
Yeah, basically, we have a contract to do something that we don't have permission to do yet.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
but still,
Do you have that on electronic copy, or is that a
Actual paper.
yeah. Okay, so that's what's going on with that.
Alright, so Laura, how long have we been in this public meeting? We started at what time?
6 o'clock.
We started at 6?
No,
I mean 6:30, sorry.
6:30, so it's been an hour and 5,
Yep.
6 minutes.
Okay.
Can I just bring up one thing on the public meeting end of with this thing? You know, with the
Yep.
paperwork. There was a misconception on an individual's part of what something I had said. And Joe, at the time, we were talking about the new law in the state so that homeowners can also be able to have second pit plots and stuff like that, you know. In other words, you can use your basement to go.
ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
Yeah, something like that, accessory dwellings or whatever it is. The state just approved that. The individual got a wrong idea. I was not saying that all those type of people were, I was not. What I was trying to say is we're probably gonna get more in the town, and that possibly, which I never got a chance to say possibly, that we might have run into that situation, and that's why I'm trying to explain. So I want to be put on the record that I was not doing that. I was not overstepping my bounds as a vice chair of the planning board. I was just saying that, and trying to fight for this thing, so, okay?
And basically, for the record, Roger, I didn't think anything personally myself, other than what you were thinking, what you were saying. I didn't take it out of context as it was taken out of context, so.
Yeah.
No, that's
But
just-
I just wanna bring it up because of
Nope.
something.
So basically, we've been into the public meeting on the ordinance for approximately 66, 67 minutes. So I would entertain a motion that we adopt the disorderly resident ordinance to be into effect immediately upon being voted on, if it so moves. And that this should be a living, working document so that we can make changes at any time in the future as we deem necessary, future boards deem necessary.
I make a motion that we approve the disorderly residence ordinance.
Well, second.
With amendments?
With amendments,
With the amendments?
yes, with amendments. All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
When does it
So you
take
need to
place?
sign this one? This
so
is
what
the
we
good
need
one.
to, no, we're gonna have a legal one more last time, give this the blessing, and once they get back to us, probably the next day or two like that, it'll go in effect, we'll say probably by the first next week.
Okay.
So, actually, can go into effect right now, we just wanna make sure the verbiage is right,
Okay.
100%, that's all.
Read?
Just the first page of Laura just gave you, I just want to see it, there was
This first page here,
Oh, you want-
Yeah,
okay,
if
you
you
said
sign.
391, I
Oh,
just
sorry.
wanted, because I'm
It's
like,
an
I
I.
don't want somebody to say,
I looked it up when because I
Okay.
thought it was a typo too.
Right. so I'm like, yeah, somebody goes, oh, no, the technicality.
Well, and that's some of it's legal
Did you
names.
take
Your own name,
last
John.
month's minutes?
Yeah,
Well,
you just
yeah,
gave
yes.
it to me.
Yeah.
These in the
Actually,
town.
You just need to-
cool,
Okay, I just got
It's a start.
a document of 114 pages that I was supposed to read.
Yeah.
all right,
And I had to print it out.
now we've done that, we go to public participation, if there is any.
I just have something I wanted to ask you. Gwen came to me and wants to know if you want her to be the representative
Yes.
for the town for the Census Bureau.
Yeah.
Okay, just one, you'll have to sign like a little paper giving her that, that's in
Yeah.
my office, but
That'd be fine.
it's a census year, I guess.
So, we next Monday, we'll sign it? Or just put it,
Just as long as you've said it in a public meeting, you can just sign it when I.
okay, we'll sign it, whatever, we'll sign it, we'll leave. Find it, anything else? All right, I entertain a motion that we adjourn from the Board of Selectmen's meeting at 7:42.
So move.
All in favor?
We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, appreciate it. So.